Hi everyone, my name is Jacqueline Morgan and I will be presenting on the DuPont analysis for the HPML 523 course, Healthcare Finance. So first we need to get into what is the DuPont analysis. The DuPont analysis is a financial framework that helps break down return on equity, or ROE, into three main components, which are your profit margin, or your profitability, your total asset turnover, or your efficiency, and then your equity multiplier, or your leverage. Basically, ROE is a way to measure how well a company is using the money that is invested to make a profit. So the three main components, your profit margin measures how efficiently an organization converts your revenue into profit. So a higher profit margin would mean that there's better cost control and better pricing strategies within an organization. Your asset turnover evaluates how effectively assets generate a revenue. So a higher ratio of the asset turnover would mean there's better asset utilization within the organization. And then your equity multiplier reflects the organization's financial structure and reliance on debt. So a higher value of your equity multiplier would also mean there's a greater financial leverage or potential risk within the organization. Now that we know what the DuPont analysis is, let's go into the formula and the interpretation of the formula that we use in the analysis. So we have here three different components to make up our ROE, and then those are broken down even farther. So you have your total margin multiplied by your asset turnover, multiplied by your equity multiplier, and that will give you your ROE. Now to break those down even farther, we have these sections right here, and each of these you can find within the balance sheets and the statement of operations of the organization itself. So your total margin will equal your net income divided by your total revenue. Your asset turnover equals your total revenue divided by your total assets. Your equity multiplier will equal your total assets divided by your total equity, which brings us to the final and last, ROE equals your net income divided by the total equity. You can also figure out that your ROE equals your net income divided by your total equity by simply crossing each of these out, as we should all know from simple math. So the top crosses out the bottom, same with here, and that leaves us with our net income divided by our total equity. So that is how you get the numbers for each segment. And then to break that down even farther, so your final part, so your ROE, if you have a high ROE, it can result from strong profitability. So your organization is profiting highly, they're using efficient asset utilization, or they have an increased leverage. Whereas if you have a low ROE, it could signal some issues in the cost management and underutilization of assets, or also insufficient financial leverage. So here are the Bobcat Hospital financial statements from 2020 and 2019. For this purpose, we're going to be using the 2020 year for our statements. So right here, you can see this section of numbers from our before slide. Those are what we're plugging into our formula itself. And like I said, you get them from the balance sheet and the statement of operations of the organization, which this organization is the Bobcat Hospital. So your net income and your total revenue, both of those will come from your statement of operations. So I have them right here. Your total revenue is going to be $9,242. And then your net income is going to be $93. Now your total assets and your total equity are going to be found on your balance sheet. So the total assets for this organization are $9,884, where your total equity, or listed here, the total net assets, are $4,435. Now we'll be taking the numbers that we used or found from the balance sheet and the statement of operations and plugging them into our DuPont analysis formula. So we have them here, your net income and total revenue over total assets, and your total assets over your total equity equal your net income over your total equity. We can go ahead and get rid of these to get this final statement. So your ROE, once you do the math, will break down to 2.1%. So that is the number that we are looking at right there. Now, we still need to know the total margin, the asset turnover, and the equity multiplier to compare to the benchmarks. So we're still going to do the math for each of these. This is going to come down here. So your net income over your total revenue. So your total margin is 1.01%. Your asset turnover is 1. And then your equity multiplier is 2.23. If you round each of those, that's what you're going to get. Now, you might notice your 1.01, your 1, and your 2.23 don't actually multiply up to be 2.1. The rounded versions will multiply up to be 2.25%. So if you're looking for just an accurate ROE, you need to just do this right here. That is the most accurate version of them. Because if you don't round any of these numbers up whenever you do the calculations, it will come out to 2.1. So when you're rounding, things can get a little off. It's not highly off, but it could change the outcome. Now, what do these numbers mean? So the numbers that we got are suggesting that the profitability is low. So the net profit margin was only 1.01%, which was significantly below the 3.7 industry average. So the hospital is just simply not generating enough profit. This could just higher expenses for the organization or poor reimbursement rates. Basically, the Bobcat Hospital keeps only 1 cent per dollar earned, while other hospitals or the industry average are keeping around 4 cents. The asset turnover was 1, which is aligned with industry standards. So this means a hospital is generating a reasonable amount of revenue per dollar of assets, but still struggles to convert that revenue into profit, as we could see before. So the hospital generates $1 in revenue for every $1 in assets, which does align with the norms, but could still, they still struggle with the profit aspect of it. So then your equity multiplier was 2.23, which was much higher than the industry benchmark, which is typically around 1.3 to 1.2. That means that the Bobcat Hospital relies more on debt than other hospitals in the industry, which increases the financial risk. So while we all know while borrowing can boost profits, when you're investing into something, you hope to get something out of it. So while borrowing can boost your profits, it also makes the hospital more vulnerable if it doesn't improve its earnings, which our profitability is low, so we are not doing that. The Bobcat Hospital's ROE is 2.1, which is much lower than industry average, which is 5%. This is mainly due to the low profits, I believe, not so much poor efficiency or too much debt, but overall the profitability is what's kind of killing it here. So my recommendations for improvement, and just some that I've gathered from some research, to increase profitability, you could reduce operating costs by improving supply chain efficiency, or improve reimbursement rates and expand revenue streams. To improve your operational efficiency or your asset turnover, you could implement technology to streamline patient care and administrative processes and reduce patient wait times and increase bed turnover. And then to optimize the debt management, the Bobcat Hospital could consider refinancing debt at a lower interest rate or focus on capital investments that boost profitability without adding an excessive debt. So that is the DuPont analysis formula, explained, applied, and improved. And these are my resources. Thank you.